What a week for Battlefield 5. War in the Pacific and Chapter 5 fully detailed by DICE. More info on features and fixes coming with Update 5.0, as well as when to roughly expect it, alongside news coming on private games this Monday and the Elite Soldier controversy. This is your week on the Battlefield. Welcome to this episode of This Week on the Battlefield, the show where we cover news, updates, the community, and so much more all around the Battlefield franchise. As per usual, there's much to cover, so let's jump straight into it. This week, replacing the side-by-side playlists, we have one focusing on Grand Operations. Regrettably, both Mercury and Merita, the makeup of the Greek Grand Operation, were not added, as I regrettably predicted in last week's episode, and it doesn't seem like this playlist is in any way different than the default Grand Operations, so instead of calling it a playlist, really we have a featured game mode. Alongside Grand Operations though, we have the fourth and final challenge for the Battlefest mini chapter. The first of the community challenges, it's seeking a total of 100 million kills or assists between all platforms. Things are looking pretty good so far, so I predict we'll end up unlocking the Fliegerfaust either on Monday or Tuesday, nicely before the end of Battlefest and the beginning of War in the Pacific. For those wondering what happens if we fail to unlock the Fliegerfaust, DICE has confirmed that we will be able to purchase it for company coins a week after the challenge ends on November the 7th. The same applies for those who don't log in or participate in the challenge, thus if you want to have the Fliegerfaust for free, make sure you jump into a quick game of Battlefield this week at any point, and if the community actually manages to complete the challenge, you will be rewarded with the gadget. Also, on a quick side note, for those finding a discrepancy between the number of kills they're scoring in-game and what's being shown on the weekly mission progression, don't worry, this is simply a display issue. Your kills are being counted, DICE is aware of it and looking into it. The major news item this week is definitely however the announcement of Chapter 5, the brilliant trailer, and a generous helping of details provided by DICE on what exactly to expect. Most of you will already be aware of everything announced, and thus I'm only going to rehash the most important details here. If you want the full rundown on everything officially announced, feel free to check out my video on the subject. I'll have it linked down below in the description and up above in the info card. To begin with then, Chapter 5 will be launching this Thursday, October the 31st. With it, we'll be getting two new maps, Iwo Jima and Pacific Storm, with both of them being available straight away. A third Pacific map, Wake Island, will be coming later this year in December. Alongside the maps, new cosmetics, factions, planes, tanks, squad reinforcements, and the introduction of battle pickups in the form of a flamethrower and katana, we also have a confirmed list of weapons coming this Thursday and following the launch throughout the chapter. As for those weapons coming this Thursday, we can expect the M1 Grab for the Assault, the Type 99 Arisaka for the Scout, the Type 100 SMG for the Medic, and the M1919A6 MMG for the Support class. Another interesting piece of information that we learned this week was that the elites purchased for the Allied or Axis factions will supposedly be usable in the Pacific, despite the fact that they are not part of the fighting factions. We'll talk about why this is being done and how the community has reacted a little bit further on in this video, but to put things mildly, people don't seem to be too happy. Something that isn't always worth mentioning, but this week definitely is, the Armory saw a pretty substantial amount of content added to it this week. To start off with, DICE is handing out the Smog Epic Face Paint to anyone logging in during the last week of Battlefest as little Halloween gift. The previously on the show reported and of course by Temporyal data mined Halloween pack, including two pretty sick looking soldier sets, weapon skins for the Lee Enfield, Lewis gun, Sten and STG-44 of arguably questionable taste, as well as a vehicle skin for the Panzer IV, are all part of the Halloween bundle currently in the Armory. Further, in something I personally love, we have the Damascus skin set slowly making an appearance in the Armory this week with availability for the STG-44. And as per usual, all the good stuff is very much locked behind Boynes, and thus, unsurprisingly, all the content I just mentioned is behind a pretty severe paywall. And what to expect next week? Besides the obvious launch of War in the Pacific, we also have a large accompanying update, patch 5.0. It has been confirmed to be coming next week, and it kinda has to release before Thursday, and thus I think it's fair to speculate that most likely it will be coming on either Tuesday or Wednesday, just in time for the new content. With the larger changes in terms of weapon balance or possible redesigns of features or mechanics such as the MMG meta yet to be reported on or confirmed, we don't know everything or even too much about the patch, but what we do know is that it has been in the workings for quite some time now. The patch notes are pretty extensive and a whole host of bug fixes are coming alongside it. The most important of which were confirmed just this Friday via the Trello board. Amongst them are fixes to some of the collision issues we've had between soldiers and hard-edged assets, such as bridge railings for example, improved activation and consistency of the sliding functionalities, players no longer being able to reach unintended areas on Operation Underground and Rotterdam, as well as, more importantly, the performance issues that faced most players on Operation Underground. Then, in something I don't believe until I actually see it, supposedly blocky Minecraft trees are something of the past. Mastery assignments have been addressed as well, with the Carabine 1938M Mastery 4 assignment, Madsen Mastery 2 assignment, and pretty much all of the Selbstlader 1906 Mastery assignments being fixed up. The bug where soldiers would seem to use a health pouch to gain ammo or vice versa is also supposedly something of the past, and tank turret speeds have been improved, with definitely more details being required here, and general audio improvements for directional audio, mix and transitions are also part of the patch. Yet once more, I'll believe it when I no longer get stabbed in the back by somebody who didn't have any footsteps. Also, for those hoping to try out the Pacific content, there will be a free weekend on all platforms for anybody who doesn't own Battlefield 5 between November 1st and November 4th. In our always popular and always relevant soon TM category of news, we have private games, of course confirmed to be coming in Chapter 5. Long we've been waiting for details and long we've been promised them. Monday this week supposedly is the day we're going to be getting them. According to Jeff Brannock, community manager for the Battlefield franchise, we'll be getting some details in one form or another on private games via the This Week in Battlefield 5 post on Monday. Now this may just include when to expect an actual detailed outline of all the functionalities coming, as well as possibly even a launch date, or it may be the full rundown with everything related to private games. We won't know until Monday. In Temporyal goodness, as always of course to be taken with a generous helping of salt, given the data mining origins of the provided information. We start off with the apparent inclusion of a rifle grenade option for the M1 Grand via the specializations of that weapon. Likely this will function similarly to what is found currently on the M28 Contrambacino. Then supposedly, DICE may be looking to implement an inspect weapon feature similar to the one found in games like Call of Duty. Now this has been in the game files for a while, so it may be that DICE at one point was working on this, but may no longer be at this point. Again, we'll see if it ever actually shows up. Lastly then, we have the green Bakelite skin, an elite skin for some of the Pacific weaponry such as the M1919A6, M1 Grand, M3 SMG, BAR, Type 99, Type 100 and Type 2A. Once again, given its elite denunciation however, likely a Boynes exclusive. In community news, a section that is actually of relevance this week, we have of course the news that elites from existing factions and the new Japanese and US factions will be interchangeably usable. And this of course caused a relatively heated discussion. Now what it means specifically is that if you have a German elite, you will be able to use that when playing as Japanese soldier on one of the new Pacific maps. Same of course goes for the Japanese when playing as German, at least presumably. This is of course inconsistent with the way other character cosmetics are handled. That is, as it stands right now, you're not able to equip your US soldier when playing as British on Twisted Steel, for example. The logic here, definitely questionable. The reasoning given by DICE is that players will want to use the elites they have spent money on, but I find that a little bit weird given that we are locked to factions as is anyways, and the same logic is of course therefore not applied to premium cosmetic sets, let alone of course weapon skins. I, for my part, find the argumentation used by DICE here pretty flawed, and I also don't look forward to seeing a Japanese elite dressed accordingly while fighting as the allies on, for example, Rotterdam. That seems completely out of place to me. I mean, to put it simply, these two elites will be on the new Pacific maps fighting alongside this guy here. I personally see a little bit of a clash there. In other news, we have of course Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Excitement has been long building for this title after the relatively successful public beta, and with it arriving this week, a lot of your favorite content creators will of course be putting out content on the game. For those wondering why I'm personally not covering it. I did actually contemplate doing so, but ultimately decided that I simply don't have the necessary time to cover another game on this channel. Unless I either reduce the quantity or even worse the quality of my existing Battlefield 5 content, which is not something I personally want to do, I'm not able to cover another game. And ultimately, as this isn't my job and just actually a hobby, I'm going to continue to follow my interests and prioritize quality over quantities and views. I'll leave that to the professionals. In our only in Battlefield moments, we start this week off with Eden Exit and some great sniping on Operation Underground. Next up, we have King Rob with one of the most unfortunate deaths I have seen in Battlefield 5 in a long time. Back on Operation Underground, this time with Frostbit Pixel and his flank of a lifetime. And lastly today, we have Time and Assault with arguably the best V1 I have ever seen. 13 kills, 2 vehicles destroyed, comfortably wiping out half of the enemy team. But with that, we're coming to the end of this week's episode. If you enjoyed the show, found it interesting or entertaining, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and of course hit me up with your feedback, suggestions, and opinions down below in the comments or over on Twitter. With all that being said, however, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next episode this week on the Battlefield.